Hello everyone, thank you for listening to His Dork Materials. I just wanted to take a moment to talk to you today about Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor.fm, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Not only is it free, but the creation tools are included that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the After Show podcast.
We're so sorry.
The only podcast you need to listen to about Star Trek Picard, because the rest of them are dirty liars. We're giving it to you straight. We're giving you just the truth. We're doing something different this time. I think this is the first time on this podcast we're doing in person.
Yeah, it is.
Probably not. Well, definitely not the last, because change is a wait. The times they are changing. That's what's the I'm looking for. But yeah, we're doing it in person so we can all see each other. We're not doing it over glitchy phone lines. So if someone drops out of this podcast,
it's because they literally drop dead.
They drop dead, but we're gonna keep
powering through
on.
Just around Heather's dead body.
I was gonna say.
So
if you no longer hear me, I just said fuck it, I'm out. Peace.
Speaking of Heather, my name is Josh.
My name is the Commodore.
And I'm the best bro, Heather.
Yeah. So
I almost forgot that I'm trying to commit to that now.
Are you?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm the Commodore now.
Shit, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Unsubscribed.
Please don't unsubscribe to our podcast, even though if you're a Picard fan, you might after this episode, because it's going to be a little less spicy than last week's episode, I think.
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe.
But not much. I'll probably be a little bit kinder to this episode, I think, compared to everybody else. But maybe by like 1 or 2 points. It's not going to be. There's not going to be a big swing here.
All I'm gonna say is that last week I called exactly what happens in this episode. Fucking nothing. And then in the last 2 minutes, they get on the spaceship. Okay, well, have a good night, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.
See you next week. Yeah. So we get another flashback to Mars in this episode.
For like half a second,
Yeah,
and then it flashes.
Just enough to be useless.
Just enough to be useless. Just enough for you to be like, are they going to start this fucking episode like this every time? Then we get flashed to 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Just enough time where they're just like, we kind of have to DH Pat Stew a little bit.
A little bit. I'll give him props. It looks pretty smooth. It looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good. The scenes where he like is just sitting on the bench and is just like staring into middle distance as Raffi is talking were kind of just like, he just looked like somebody airbrushed him into the shot.
I was going to say, he looked like he had a lot of fucking makeup on.
I do want to give props to the costuming department. I think the uniforms in this time period are pretty snazzy.
They are pretty snazzy.
I do like the multi-layer lines of the red and yellow, and like
his uniform had more complexities to it too, because we were talking about what fucking rank Raffi was, because not at any point does he say it. And I know we were talking about the symbols on their uniforms, and that's how you tell what their rank is. But his uniform actually had stripes in it.
Yeah.
His like, shoulders were red, and then
so it's like red shoulders, and then there's the black cutout, and his had like gray stripes in it.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah, and hers had the same black cutout, but hers was yellow. Still looked pretty snazzy. I think I like these uniforms better than the current timeline uniforms that they're wearing. Though I still think the uniforms are pretty nice. I still think the worst uniforms are, I want to say, the Nemesis, where it's like washed out. And there's a lot of gray.
I don't remember the uniform
There's like
in that one at all.
kind of
actually.
turtleneck, ribbed sweater on around the collar.
I remember that from, I want to say, Insurrection, I think is when they first initially introduced that kind of look.
Yeah, because I think they introduced them with the Enterprise E.
Yeah. And I don't know. As much as I have a soft spot for TNG's like uniforms and stuff, those are not good uniforms. They look uncomfortable as hell. And the fact that like Patrick Stewart is literally always like adjusting his shirt down and like,
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, either that or, I don't know. I'm Jesus Christ. Even when we're not on the phone, she has fucking shit to say.
She's got opinions.
She's got opinions. I don't know. I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit for this from nobody that comments on these, but fucking come at me now, internet. The original Star Trek uniforms are not that great either.
No.
Those are not good.
I think that's that's one of the better things that the J.J. Abrams Star Trek has done. I really like those costumes.
Yeah, those ones are good. I like those ones.
Because you get like and I know people complain about having like textured costumes on things because they want just like the flat, but you got to have texture in your costume. Otherwise it looks like a costume. So like having, I think it's like I want to say like a diamond pattern kind of on the shirts a little bit.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of flair on the pants, but not like disco pants like the original films. I think had the worst costumes because it was like super 70s, even though they took place in the 80s. Like they had like the huge bell bottoms. So yeah, we're talking about the costumes because
God damn it. Because what else are we going to talk about on this fucking show?
Otherwise it's just complaining and I don't want to be super down.
Super down now. I am really tired of every time we get our first shot of the Borg cube, they have to go in and through it.
Yeah.
Like to show off that they're in, like, we know it's a Borg cube. We know what the internals of that look like. You don't have to do these establishing shots every single time, but this show doesn't know how to fill time properly. So they do things like this instead. See, again, the 30 to 45-second flashback montage at the beginning of this episode now. And God.
Yeah. So the Raffi was a mistake. I'm just going to put that out there right now. Like everything about her is a mistake so far, including this beginning scene, because other than her costume, I don't like any of it.
Nope.
From all of I'm going to say this probably every episode, because so far, maybe not episode 1. I think episode 1 didn't have it, but episode 2 did, and now this one has. This show needs to be rated TV PG.
Yeah.
They need to stick. It needs to be. It's a family. This TNG is a family show. This is Star Trek is a show that you watch with your family. That's going to be That's like
keep all your bullshits, keep all your goddams, especially keep all your fucks to yourself.
Because Raffi drops a bullshit here at the beginning, which it doesn't add. It's like it does nothing for the show.
It is, however, not the greatest atrocity to come out of her goddamn mouth.
Oh no, it is not.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Heather. Like this bugged me every time too, but I'm gonna let Heather explain what the worst part of Raffi's character.
Her blatant fucking disrespect for the man she is speaking to. If you are an admiral, you are addressed as Admiral.
Like his first name is Admiral at that
Admiral
point.
Picard. If you have had him as a captain, I can understand calling him Captain Picard, even though he's no longer, that's not his station, but sure, you could call him Captain Picard.
And like
go ahead.
Sorry, the most like familiar like Riker got was calling him like Jean-Luc every once in a while.
Yeah.
Half the time when
if you have boned him in the past, you may call him Jean-Luc. That is it. Nobody, and I swear to God, I will punch this woman through my TV screen. Nobody is allowed to call this man what she calls him.
Yeah.
And-
No, it just no. JL does not.
That is
No.
unacceptable.
I just want to point out too that like half of the time that Riker calls Picard Jean-Luc, it's because either he has Q powers and he's making fun of him, or he's like an evil clone. I want to say, like most of the time, it's because there's some sort of weird alien bullshit going on, and not because he's like. I think there's maybe like one time that he does it as like, "Hey, I'm really concerned,"
Yeah, and it's like in the movies,
or maybe like season 6 or something.
yeah.
And like, they're probably trying to go with the Spock and Bones thing where they called Kirk Jim, or they called him Jim all the time. But it's like
that worked though, because like
it's a different tone of show.
Yeah, and just because like Bones is such a like an old hard ass.
Yeah.
Like that guy was 60 years old when they started that show. Like he was perpetually just like an old man, and it was great. And like all of the instances of like, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a whatever. Like those are just great. And I feel like, I don't know, Kirk ran a looser ship, I'll say.
Loose ships sink lips.
You know, he likes his crew loose. He likes his ladies loose. And like Picard is not that guy.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't. Like, I honestly expected if they were going to go for another F-bomb with this episode, it was going to be from Picard just being like, would you fucking stop it, to her?
Yeah. I was going to say something along those about on that line about so in the series, every time someone called him Jean-Luc, except for his past girlfriends or family, he would always always get that upset look on his face. Like Q did it all the time, and he always got like super upset every time he called him Jean-Luc.
Well, I feel like Q is such a antagonistic character anyway, and is like, I'm super powerful. You can't do anything about it. I'm going to call you, oh no, Jean-Luc.
But like, Picard didn't want to be called that,
Yeah.
so like, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't like it. Especially
I
not
like it.
JL is the worst that you could go with too.
It's really bad.
Super fucking bad. I'm sorry, JL is the dipshit white trash boyfriend your daughter is unfortunately seeing. It is not the name of a fucking Starfleet admiral.
Yeah.
It's not.
Like it's such a like try hard cool kid thing for a character to do, and it just does not track at all with anything any Star Trek has ever done previous to this, which I feel like you can almost say across the board for this show.
Yeah, like in the other series, you had Chakotay would call Janeway Catherine every once in a while.
Once in a while.
Yeah.
Part of that is
there was a deep, beautiful sexual tension between the two of them.
well, yeah, because they were like,
I'm gonna just say that was fine. It was appropriate.
well, that works because like the way that their thing was, they were like all not exactly co-captains, but like he was the captain of the Maquis.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the captain of the Federation. So like when they got together, it was like, yeah, they're going to have a slightly different relationship.
He also said it in an extremely respectful tone, and it was like an attention catching thing.
Yeah.
And it was meant to be a respectful thing.
It
Whereas,
was never just like, hey, teach.
yeah, because if he'd just been like, Janeway, what up? What up, girl? What up? What up, MJ?
But you know,
We would have all been like, fucking turn this shit off.
but you know, like she would have slapped the shit out of Henry Kim if he tried that bullshit. Because Well, maybe we might have to do that show someday because
Oh, I'd be down.
the first
I'm
half
so
of that
down.
series I enjoyed. Second half I had some problems with, but that's again we're not talking about Picard because
God help us.
Because fucking nothing happened. Like,
yeah.
I loved Heather and I almost like we're just so perfectly in sync on our like little hatreds of shit from this episode. Like when he's talking about how like, oh, his last big gambit was to be like, we either do the mission or I resign. And she's like, oh, what happened? He's like, I resigned. And then she gets a fucking call on her Nook and she's like, well, I guess I'm getting fired now. Fucking thanks, old man. And we're like, why is that his fucking fault? Like, what the fuck?
He's like, I didn't think they'd ever take my resignation. And she's like, no, of course you didn't. Like, she's upset that he's just been fired, basically. They accepted his resignation. And she's like, yeah, no, that makes sense. And then she's like, yeah, oh, great. Now they're going to fucking fire him. You resign and I get fucking fired. And he's like,
what?
How am I supposed to, excuse you?
How did we get from A to B on that?
Yeah, there's definitely like a prequel show that we did not get that they think we've seen.
Yeah.
Where all of the like this relationship has been explained and like the reasoning for all this stuff has been explained, but unfortunately we did not see that prequel show. We're just kind of thrown into just having to accept all these different relationships that are put on here. Mm-hmm. So it's been 3 episodes in a row now where the establishing shot of the Borg cube is an unbroken, long, just tracking shot into the cube, and yeah, we've seen it. So
we get
please stop.
At least this one crossfades into a completely different part of the cube for some reason.
Yeah. Like at least I will say at least the first 2 ended up where they started, so that's something.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then again, so at least with the next character they introduce, if you were prepared for it, there is an explanation about why we're suddenly focusing on this guy. But if you're like me and don't recognize him right away, you're like, why is this character so important all of a sudden?
Is this the guy from the TNG?
Yeah. So this is the first Borg drone that got separated from the collective.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that because they don't explain who he is or what the fuck's going on until like.
We don't even get his name in this episode, do we?
Yeah, one at the end when she's like fighting off the. We also find out that the Borg aren't actually dead in this ship; they're kind of half alive.
Yeah.
So I guess that's an explanation that we should have got. That like would have been nice in the previous episode when they were doing all this stuff, but. So we do get that explanation, but when she's fighting off the Romulan woman, she calls him Hugh real quick.
When she does her $6 million man run.
Yeah. Which, if you like the weird motion smoothing effect that they do for her moving around, then you'll like Birds of Prey because every fight scene is that motion smoothing on everybody because they had to like fast motion it so it doesn't look bad. But that's a side tangent for a movie that's recently come out that I saw. So, which judging by the box office, not a lot of people did. So,
oh no,
womp womp. Anyway, but yeah, like this episode doesn't explain why this guy that we're suddenly following around is suddenly the main focus until like
and is apparently in charge.
Yeah. He's also really impressed with her work of standing at a typewriter and mashing on the keys during the procedures. Like we still have not seen what she does that impresses everybody so much.
Nope.
Not even a little bit.
But what if she?
We learn
we can get swear words on this show, but we can't get what she does that's so impressive.
We do somehow. Okay. So there are alien races that have been assimilated, and now they're being unassimilated, and they've said in the series that they don't know what all the species are. So there's some that they don't have a species name for them.
Yeah.
But then we see the clip of her talking to one of the Borg ones that they don't know the species of, and she says words to it. And then he immediately goes to her and says, "Wow, I can't believe you talked to the unknown species Borg in its mother tongue." And I'm like, how do you know? How do you know what someone's language is when you don't even know who they are?
So wasn't the Borg person a Romulan? Because aren't all of the Borg on this cube Romulan?
No.
Because all of the people in all of the, what did she call them? The disconnected or something, whatever she called them, they're all Romulan. She said, "Oh, so all the discombobulators are
So I think,
Romulan."
I think those are the ones that are like conscious, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe.
They don't really spend a lot of time explaining what the fuck is happening in this Borg. Like,
No.
They're taking pieces off the Borgs. Some of them are alive, maybe. Some of them are Romulan. Some of them are what they call the nameless because they don't know what species they are.
Yeah.
But they know that the language she was speaking to it was its native language somehow. Which I feel like, if there's anything we know about this character, Soji, is that she speaks nonsense. So I don't know why they suddenly think that this has meaning, which we'll get into.
Oh my God.
Towards the end of the show, it's not an entire scene of my eyes glazing over, but there are definitely she has like two short monologues where like my eyes just glaze over and I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about.
My eyes just rolled into the back of my head.
Yeah. Which I guess we'll skip to it because the Picard stuff in this is pretty boring. Nothing really happens.
Nothing really happens.
Nope.
He sits at Rafi's house. And
She
gets
screams
yelled
at him.
Bitches at him for something that's not fucking his fault. I'm so sorry you didn't plan your fucking retirement. You saved none of your money, and now you live in what turns out to be not a terrible home and not a terrible location while you smoke your fucking vape and drink
Dude, vaping's still around.
Yeah, vaping's still around. Smoke your fucking vape and your weird flower wine. What the fuck is she drinking out of that cup? I don't even want to know.
Oh, the wine
Meth,
is regular
probably.
wine. The flower was what went into her vape.
The devil's lettuce, or whatever she called it.
Fuck it. I don't care. I was just so irritated at her for still calling him 14 years later, still calling him LJ or JL. Still calling him JL.
And yeah, and just generally.
Which is how he is saved in her fucking phone, by the way. It's Picard, JL. And I was just like, you've got to be goddamn shitting me.
Yeah.
This fucking audacity of this goddamn woman.
The sheer fucking hubris.
The sheer fucking hubris.
The fact that she's just mad at him because she was terrible with her money.
She was
Also,
and then she eventually gets to the point of why she's actually mad at him, and it's like, I'm sorry, writers, this is fucking 10 minutes too goddamn late. She's mad at him because in these 14 years, he's never once reached out to be like, hey, I'm really sorry, me basically being fired from Starfleet meant you got fired from Starfleet. Hope you're doing okay, buddy. And she's like, I'm fucking pissed at you for being a rich goddamn asshole who was an admiral who resigned, not in shame actually, because nobody understood why you resigned. This is
Also, I'd just like to point out there is no money in this world. Yeah. So, like, the fact that she's destitute doesn't make any fucking sense. I had to come out here to my hovel. It's like, why don't you just fucking, like, why don't you just fucking replicate a nicer house, dumbass?
Well, here's the thing is that her house is not a bad house. Like, when you look at it, it's big. It's decent size.
I mean,
it's a big double-wide trailer, basically.
Jonathan and I live in a tiny house, and I'm going to tell you what, her house is bigger than ours.
Yeah. Also, she lives on the property that they shot the original Star Trek series on with that
and
rock.
You don't like where you fucking live? Move your goddamn house. This is space times. God damn
Space
it.
trailer. God damn it.
Space
God.
Trailer. That is
fucking
what
chick.
It's so Raffi's awful. Also terrible costume. Her costume was great. Who fucking did her hair? Because I'm gonna hit him. Because when her hair is pulled back 14 years earlier, you can see like the blonde streaks.
Yeah.
Somebody tiger striped that woman. Somebody fucking tiger striped her and then was like,
it's 2002, right?
And then it was like, you know what? Just do it to the rest of her hair. Just keep going. Like, ugh.
Yeah, so the Raffi stuff's not great.
It's not great.
It sucks. It sucks, and I'm really mad that she's on this plane. And I'm really glad she's going to Gambling Island so that we don't have to deal with her.
Fuck, do I not give a shit at all.
It's Star Wars. Are we watching Star Wars again, guys?
Yeah, they're gonna go drop her off at fucking Canto Bight.
So the first time my eyes glazed over with Soji is she goes, wait, is that the end of the episode? That's towards the end. Never mind.
Where she's talking to... Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay, we can get into it later, but there's a scene where she's talking to her mom where I literally had a thought pop into my head, and if we want to go into that right now, I'll go into it. But
Do it.
Okay.
We'll go into it because...
fuck all
I
else.
got the orders of my eyes glazing over reversed because I must have expunged it. So I just want everyone to know, like, my opinion of this episode was a lot higher the first time I watched it, but now that
now that he spent time with us,
just thinking about it for like 2 seconds, like the first time I was able to watch it and just like shut my brain down and just have it wash over me, which I think is the best way to watch this. Thinking about it for 2 seconds is going to drive you insane. So like watching it a second time and like seeing everything, I think that's the problem. Whereas like if you watch it once and barely pay attention to it, you can just like let it wash. Let's let it wash over you.
I barely looked up from my phone during this episode, and I have issues.
Okay, so there's a scene where after she talks to the crazy lady,
Ramada,
thank you.
Ramda.
She goes into a room and calls her mom, and then as she's talking to her mom, just passes out for no fucking reason. Insert joke about talking to your parents. Haha, am I right? Got him.
Yeah, so like,
and then it literally cuts to her waking up as Narek walks into her room. And this was the moment that I was like, oh, so this is just a show of just bullshit happening for no fucking reason. And it immediately made me think of a movie that Moist Boys purists will remember. We did a review of a movie called Slipstream.
I was gonna
where
say.
literally bullshit just happens for no reason, and then the next scene starts regardless of where it's edited in, and this felt exactly like that.
Yeah. So why does her mom put her to sleep when she talks to? Like, it doesn't make sense.
I'm gonna go with it's.
She just doesn't want to talk to her.
Yeah, well, it's a.
Oh God, not this bitch again.
So I don't think their parents are real. First off, the mom that they both call on the phone is not a real person, and I think that there's something built into the wiring that if they get too agitated, something about talking to her knocks them out.
Yeah.
Or if they get too close to unlocking themselves. I think that's what it's meant to do.
Probably.
It's like
I don't know though, because the show doesn't fucking tell me anything important.
It's something akin to what Black Widow does to the Hulk in Age of Ultron, kind of a thing. Like his little calm down. Mm-hmm. Like that's what the mom figure does to them if they
Sun's
get
getting
like
real low, big guy.
Yeah.
If it was a thing that we could, as an audience, like pull out, take from it, that'd be one thing. Like if like the show had like focused in on like like she says a phrase and she gets knocked out, that would be one thing. But she's just like going on this boring story about a dog that doesn't exist, and like she's slowly falling asleep. And it's like, yeah, I'm having the same reaction to this conversation. Don't worry, it's not just you. So it's like just kind of muddled that way. But yeah, so there's two scenes where my eyes just really glazed over. The first one, which I'm now realizing took place before that scene with Soji and her mom, but she's talking to Ramda and Hugh, and she starts explaining something, and it's along the lines of either not Vulcans, either Romulans or the Borg, or Romulans that were Borg, have a framework of thing that does a thing.
I just realized what you're
that's
trying to
the
explain.
news.
Don't stop. Just stop. Just, oh my God.
That's what I picked up from
that
it.
gobbledygook that she spoke. So it is
Some bullshit.
we need an anthropologist, I think, to actually fucking explain it. It's gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Like, as she was going through that, my eyes started to glaze over, and I'm like, I'm not sure what she's trying to say here, but it's not the words that are coming out of her mouth right now.
No. The epiphany reaction that she has when Rom does like the news. She's like, the news.
I love it.
I love it. And
That's
she
what
said,
I'm trying to do.
oh
And
my
I'm like, I
God.
don't know what it is.
I don't know.
She needs to stop saying, I love it. Also, her face is getting less and less expressive as the episodes continue on.
Her face is getting more and more punchable as the episodes go.
She, like, in the first episode, I felt like Daj had a lot of expressions, a lot of emotions that played on her face. And Soji had some. And then the second episode, like, I felt as it went on, she lost those emotions, those expressions.
Yeah.
And in this one, like, Soji was talking and she'd be like, blank faced. And then all of a sudden she'd say, I love it. With no expression on her face. And you're like, serial killer, get out the room. What the fuck is happening?
What is this? Who is this just plain flour tortilla that you've just thrown on screen?
Get these goddamn mission tortillas off of my show. Yeah. So the second time my eyes glazed over is when she's talking to Narek, and she's trying to explain her emotions about how she's feeling, but she does it in a way that I didn't understand what she was talking about.
I think I completely tuned out this scene.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure this was a point where instead of actually just watching the show, I was just sitting there contemplating myself, like, I could have, at any point during this episode, gone, made myself a snack, probably slammed an entire Mountain Dew, and then came back and would have not missed a fucking thing.
Wait. The conversation she's having with Narek, are you confused about what's happening? Or are you glazed over?
No, it just washed over me.
I was glazed over until he said the fucking line. Because she was basically just like, she was basically saying, I don't know what happened. I don't know how it came over me. It's like she did the same thing that Daj was trying to explain to Picard of like,
I know this information. I don't know how.
Yeah, I suddenly fucking I suddenly fucking did this shit, and I don't know how I did this shit. And so she's like, I don't know how. And instead of and her next line is, do you believe me?
Can I tell you a secret?
And then he responds with, can I tell you a secret? And his secret is, I'm falling in love with you.
And it was at this point that I just threw the TV out the fucking front door.
Because how in the hell was that a response to what she asked?
This is like some Cuba Gooding Jr. murders somebody, and then he goes back to his girlfriend and Boys in the Hood kind of bullshit. We're like, this isn't how you respond to the situation.
How do you respond to the situation? Like, I definitely was expecting her to push back from him and be like,
what? Excuse me?
Hang on. I'm going fucking crazy, and you're just going to tell me you're falling in love with me? And instead, that is not what she did.
Nope, it works.
It is implied.
No, it's implied that she just gushers.
She just laid back and said, all right, have your way with me now.
Yep, that happened.
That happened. God.
And then we got the next icky scene, which, by the way, first off, to the first icky scene, to which I'm literally looking at my phone, hear him say, I'm falling in love with you. Look up and went, gross. To which one of you, I don't remember which one, responded with, thank you, Daddy.
That's what I said.
Thank you, Daddy.
I love you too, Dad. Because
Dad.
These people have an
incredible age
Tom
gap.
Cruise level of age gap.
So then it leads into the next creepy scene, which I am a large Game of Thrones fan. And I definitely had the transition from the first season of going, ew, incest, gross, get it off my screen, to the not final season, but the second to last
The end of the
being like,
season.
incest is incest, incest is incest. No, Romulans.
If you're going to take one thing away from Game of Thrones, these guys took the incest is wincest part.
They did, and not the hot aunt nephew, but didn't know it incest. No, they took the
brother
sister twin way too close. That's basically like as fucking yourself incest.
I want to say that the Romulans have always been weird like this, so I'm not gonna put that on this show. I think in a better show it would not have been as bad. Like if we weren't uncomfortable by everything else that this show was doing, I think it would have been like...
you can't go from one uncomfortable scene to the other uncomfortable scene and not expect me to go, ew.
Yeah.
Get it off the screen.
Get it off.
So, with the Ramda bullshit, what did any of that... Like, I can understand from A to B. Like, they laid everything out. I just don't know why we had to watch it happen.
So that we could hear the lines, I'm back. So are your ears. Like, what? Why? Why do you gotta point out that she's not in disguise anymore?
Also, I've never played Triominoes, but I don't think she was very good at it.
What is Triomino?
So we played dominoes, but they're triangle shaped.
Oh, yeah. No, she was doing tarot cards with her trinominos.
Tarot. I'm going to make this work now.
Trinominos.
Nope, not happening.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Trey Parker, Matt Stone, and nose.
I guess I don't know why we saw this. I'm trying to work it through my head about what we were doing with it.
Try.
Like the false door thing, which then leads into her physically sitting behind her to air quote go in through the back door. Why?
And then they have the conversation. Like all of this is just so she can get upset and fall asleep. We get a little bit of information that, like, we already know that this. I guess there is some information we get from Soji that she knows things about the Romulans.
Yeah.
But we already know the Romulans were assimilated because they're on a Borg cube.
Yep. And they're in an entire room full of people that are all Romulan.
Yeah.
Who've been dissimilated.
So all we learn from that, and it's a good half the episode, so like, which I guess is only like 20 something minutes. But all we learn in like 20 minutes of show is that there was a Romulan ship that got assimilated and something happened. And that's it. Like that's one line. That's one line of dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of the problem. And I see this a lot in shows, especially like more so in, well, it's a different way in streaming shows because like network shows have to be like 16 to 24 episodes, where streaming shows can quote unquote just be 10, even though they should probably be 6.
Oof.
And I feel like this is one of those things where they're trying to stretch it over 10 episodes, even though I think there's probably only like 5 or 6 episodes worth of material in here.
That sounds about right.
While also not showing us the parts that we need to be seeing, but instead showing us other stuff.
Yeah, I feel I was when Narek goes into Soji's room and he says, "Can I tell you a secret?" And he leans in and we don't hear anything, and I thought it was because we were not supposed to hear anything, but it's just him pausing uncomfortably long before saying anything. I thought, oh, the show is setting up a mystery right here. This could be interesting. Nope.
Speaking of dialogue that you think you shouldn't hear, but you do, the funniest line of dialogue in this movie, and I think in this episode, is when Zhaban and Lyric and Picard are at the chateau, and they're
Laris?
hilarious. And they're getting him prepared to go on to do a space mission, which I wanted to save the captain for last because there's a lot of stuff to unpack there.
Oh God.
But they're getting him ready to go, and Zhaban has a bag full of groceries that he brings out to him. He like drops an apple, and as he goes to pick it up, a laser bolt shoots over his head, and from off screen we hear they disabled the security. Just out of the. It's like
as he's dropping to the ground, like I understand that like,
there are stupid people that won't understand how the Romulans got on the property.
Well, I mean, like in universe, I understand the Romulans and like Vulcans are kind
like
of
cousins.
portrayed as like hyper intelligent, hyper like they're little super soldiers here at me. But like having him, because I think it's like, oh yeah, and a plum, and he just drops it and bends down and then like goes into full plank and just like they call the security. Like it's so fucking goofy.
Because that's not the first thing that you say in that situation. You say, grab the guns, or they're coming, or something that's not just like, oh, we have to explain how the Romulans got in here through quote unquote security, even though I would not have thought, that's not what I would have thought in that situation.
Like it's a fucking vineyard. I don't anticipate.
I'm assuming they came in from the fucking grapevines, guys.
Yeah, like I don't.
Or like teleported in like they have in the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So it's just
Jesus Christ.
I laughed the first time, but being prepared for it, I was like, good God, that's some bad ADR.
Oh, it's so bad. It's clearly not him saying it in the room.
Yeah.
And it's so awful.
The fight scene is okay. It's a little too, there's a couple too many cuts. With Picard, I can understand because he's a 90-year-old man. And like you can't have him like jumping around doing stuff, but like everybody gets super quick cuts. There's like 30 cuts in one sparring moment. And it's just like, this is kind of, but for this show up to this point, like it's at least a scene where something happens and it's not bad dialogue. After that really bad line,
there's not really any dialogue.
Yeah, that's when the show's at its best. It is kind of cool that they've got like phasers everywhere. Even though I'm still not a fan of the J.J. Abrams like blaster bolts. Like I want the phaser beams.
Yeah,
I want those Star Trek phaser beams. I'm not a fan of the pew pew. I want my lasers.
So I have an issue with what happened, with how the scene ends, because Dr. Girardi, like everything they murk all the bros and they think everything is fine, and then one dude busts in through a door, and then he is shot from behind by Dr. Girardi, who is holding one of their rifles.
Disruptors. Yeah.
How did she get that without killing a dude?
I'm assuming one went out from them killing one of them.
We don't see that.
I just
of all the things that they insert into this episode that doesn't need to be like that, should have been one of them.
Yeah, just, whatever.
I mean, like it just because she's obviously never shot a dude before.
Yeah.
Well, so my biggest thing is, why the fuck did she pick up the gun?
My theory is that she's a double agent.
Yeah, clearly.
Because like she talks to another Commodore.
Commodore.
She talks to a different Commodore other than the one we have here, Commodore O. And that's the end of that scene.
Yeah.
Because that's the most that this series. So speaking of when we watched the episode this time, I actually had paid attention to the previously on. So they showed some scenes from the previous episode, and I had completely I admitted last week that I had completely checked out of the scene between Commodore O and Lieutenant Spinks.
Lieutenant Diane.
Jax. Spax.
Spanks. Lieutenant Spanks.
Lieutenant Spanks. Anyway, but the scene they chose to include from that is when Commodore O calls her in, tells her to go do her job, and was like, I'd completely forgotten that's how that scene plays out, where Commodore O calls her in, tells her to leave and do her job, and then the scene ends. It's like, what?
But it took 6 minutes.
Yeah. So I appreciated that it like highlighted the completely pointlessness of that scene by just like showing you like, oh, by the way, that scene where she told her to come in and then leave, that's all that happens in that scene.
All that happens. Come in here. Go do your job.
Yeah. It's like, what?
What?
So yeah, Girardi's a bad guy, and she's working with Commodore O.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a shame, because I think Alison Peel is the only good thing about this series at this point. Because even Picard is like he gets knocked down a peg because his scenes are bad, because he's with Raffi and another character we're going to get into the whole time, and those scenes are not great.
Not good scenes.
So he doesn't get much to do. Like, he's barely in this episode, I want to say.
Yeah.
Or at least it just feels like that, because he's mostly just getting yelled at all the time.
And then just has sad old man face.
Yeah. But Alison Peel is good. She's a convincing double agent. So,
yeah.
But I have a feeling that's what it was. So, like, they gave her a gun and be like, here, go with these guys. Save them at the last minute.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on? Because any other answer is going to be bullshit.
Yeah. Because there's no fucking way. And like whatever. I honestly don't know how to take that moment, because I don't really think it's a victory on my part to be like, how did she even get that gun? Why was she behind that dude? How did, like, what? Because the show does it so obviously, but then but on the other side of that, the show does it so obviously that how are the characters in that room not just like, how did you get that gun?
Yeah.
But I just don't give a shit anymore. So let's just move on to the next fucking thing.
It's bad. Can we just stop talking about it? We all
There's only one more thing left to talk about, I think, that happens in this episode.
And it's a doozy.
I was gonna do an Irish accent right here, but I can't. So.
Hey, you know who else can?
You're not the only one. So there was a show back on the Sci-Fi Channel back when there was a period of time in like the early 2010s when Sci-Fi was going to like try to become a reputable channel. So they were like picking up like good shows and stuff to try to do. And there was a show back in the day called Alphas with David Strathairn and some other people.
Oh,
it was
watched that, but I remember that show.
It was a pretty good show. Ended on a cliffhanger and then was canceled, which pissed me off. But
that's always the worst.
Yeah, which is too bad. But like, it was for a Sci-Fi Channel show. It was good. I enjoyed it. There was some interesting stuff going on. The performances were all good. But there was a character who was being portrayed by an American actor. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it could have been the mid 2000s. Because there's another example that I have too that came out after that, which I think was in the late 2000s. Anyway, show called Alphas on Sci-Fi. There's a character that has like, who's like on the spectrum, and he somehow either his body gets taken over or he gets an evil clone made of himself. But you can tell the difference between him and the evil clone because because the evil clone has a British accent. So you have the American hero.
Of course he does.
And so then when you look up the actor, you find out, oh, he's British, so he's just doing his normal voice for his evil voice, and he's doing an American accent for when he's the good guy.
That's gotta feel shitty.
Yeah. And then there's Dreamcatcher that has Damian Lewis, who's British, and when he gets taken over by an alien, so when he's his alien character, he does a British accent, and when he's his good guy character, he does an American accent. And he's British, and it became a thing where like every show started doing it, where they're like, hey, we've got a British actor, let's do an evil twin thing where his evil twin is British and but his good guy normal character is doing an American accent.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is that, but
Cranked up to 15.
yeah. So when I first watched this, I did not watch it with subtitles. So when Captain Rios, right? Yeah. When Captain Rios is talking, I was like, does he just not know how to do a Brooklyn accent, or what the fuck is going on with his voice? Because like he's doing his accent of the human character, I want to say, is Antonio Banderas trying to do a Brooklyn accent.
Maybe. I didn't even like in Captain Rios.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even really detect any sort of accent. He just sounded like a dude from California to me.
But the subtitles say in Spanish accent.
Yeah, and I didn't hear the Spanish accent. Maybe am I the asshole? I don't know.
It's well, see, that's the thing. It's like very subtle where it's like, is this just a guy trying to do a bad American accent?
Right.
And like, so when he went to British film school, they tried him, well, let's do a Brooklyn, watch these Al Pacino movies, try to do that and you'll be fine. Nobody gives a shit over there. They'll hire you anyway if you're British. But then there's the EMH, which I think it's kind of cool that they brought the EMHs in there. I think it's kind of interesting.
Would have been better if it was Robert Picardo, but
yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
But that you don't save money by having the same actor portray multiple roles if you
get a new actor in.
Yeah.
So real quick, there's different versions of this depending on what part of the ship he's in, right?
Or just different roles on the ship.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So the first one we have the EMH, who has a British accent.
Yes.
They have a whole back and forth, and if it had ended here, I think I would have been fine with it. If it was just these two, I'd been like, oh, you can tell them apart because he's British and he's whatever the other one's doing. And that's like, so if you're just watching the show and there's a scene with a bunch of people and there's two of him and one of them is British, whatever, it's like, oh, you can tell them apart. You can tell which one's which. That's fine.
Is it fine? It's there.
It's there. But then there's a second scene where they introduce an emergency navigational hologram, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this one has what we'll charitably call an Irish accent.
So I'm not going to lie. When I saw the doctor, the EMH,
yeah,
I did not realize it was the same actor.
I couldn't quite tell 100% because they do something different with his hair.
Yeah, they look
like
similar, but I didn't realize it was I did not realize it was the exact same actor until I heard him talking to somebody with an Irish accent, looked up and was like, that's the same fucking bro.
All of the air quotes.
Yeah, by the way, all the bunnies, guys. All the bunnies.
So many bunnies.
So the first time I watched it, there was stuff I did like, stuff I didn't like. The one thing that made me want to punch the TV both times was when he says, Picard is on the side of the angels. Because that's the only phrase that Irish people know.
Yeah, some Lucky Charms bullshit right there. God.
I'm surprised when like, Picard could have been your lucky charm or some bullshit because it's so... It reminds me, I'm gonna pull another. So there's another show that I recently watched, and there's a thing involving magical things, and one of the magical things involves shadows. And to end the episode, one of the episodes.
Was it Uwu Assassins? Were you trying to watch that shit again?
No, it was
I thought we talked about this.
It was a different show, but to end, like the final line of one of the episodes is literally one of the characters puts on a magical thing and says, hello, darkness. And then there's a bunch of shadows growing up around behind them. And like the ominous music is playing. And it slowly pushes in on the character's face. And the character does say, my old friend. And I was just like, no, caused me physical pain. And this was that.
Yeah.
He's on the side of the angels.
Picard is on the side of the angels.
Now, if you don't mind, I got to go get some clam chowder to warm my bones after I've been on the sea for too long. only a couple of months after Willem Dafoe's award-winning performance in The Lighthouse, this was a goddamn crime against humanity.
Jesus. My favorite part of that scene is that the actor who's playing both, he's playing regular accent him and then Irish accent him. Regular accent him starts talking in an Irish accent because he couldn't fucking remember which version of himself he was fucking playing in the scene. And that hurt my brain. Also, I'm fucking done with Han Solo types.
I was gonna say, he's a little he's less Han Solo-y than I thought he was going to be. Like, he's not as he's slightly abrasive, not as abrasive as like a Han Solo type, I want to say.
Yeah.
That's the best I guess. That's the best I got, folks.
Yeah.
And we're done.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna just not enjoy anybody in this show.
The good news is there's only 6 episodes left.
Oh, thank God.
Wait,
isn't there 7 left? But there's 10?
There's more than 2? God help.
How does... Yeah, there's 7 left.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at this trajectory, maybe by the last episode, it'll be half as good as the first episode. I don't know what happened with that first episode.
I honestly am terrified to go back and rewatch it because maybe it was just nostalgia goggles for that first viewing.
Maybe. Never watching it again.
Never watching it again.
I'm going to keep that. What did we give it? Like an 8.5?
I think so. 8.5, maybe 7s. I don't remember.
I think
I feel like I gave it a 7. I don't think I didn't go as like full on into it.
Yeah.
I don't remember though. I might be completely wrong. I might be retroactively trying to redeem myself. Either
fortunately or unfortunately, this show has ripped off the nostalgia glasses and just ground them into the carpet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I was gonna say maybe at this trajectory, getting slightly better by like a quarter of a point every episode. By episode 10, it'll be almost as good as the first episode that we remember it as being.
Yeah.
Maybe. Clooney time. I talked myself down on this one, so I'm going to give
yourself
this.
Down off the ledge.
No, he talked himself
onto the ledge.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to go, for all the reasons that we've explained here and more, I'm going to give this, I'm still going to go 5.5 Clooney's. I think it wasn't as bad as last week's, which is a low bar.
Yeah.
Which I still gave, like, there's still good stuff going on here. Most of the effects, except for Captain Rio's ship, looked good. Captain Rio's ship looked like a Final Fantasy cutscene thrown in all of a sudden. So that looked bad. All the other effects look good. The show looks good. Some of the camera stuff is starting to bug me because, like, the camera moves around too much.
Yeah.
And I've thought this about Discovery as well, where I feel like my opinion of the show would jump up at least 1.5 to 2 points if they just made every episode its own thing. Like, well, the problem with this series is there's no story at all yet.
Nope.
Like, Discovery had the way Discovery was set up is that they would take like an episode's worth of storyline, and then they would take four episodes, and they would just like spread out the stories across the episodes. So instead of having like a story where this happens and then an episode where this happens, they would take those two events and like cut back and forth between them. So like that would have worked a lot better if they had just been like, this is this episode and this is this episode, and whatever overarching plot is like, you know, you can sprinkle that in.
Yeah.
This series needs a story. Like, so far we're 3 episodes in and it's Find Soji, and
yeah,
we don't even know what her story is because things have happened that all the characters know about that we have not seen yet.
Yeah.
I just want to know what's going on.
Now there's a fucking prophecy because that always works out great for shows.
Yeah. So I'm still going to go. I'm going 5.5, which is still pretty low.
Yeah. I was like, I was thinking before you even said your number, I was just like, oh, I might go with 6 on this one. It'll still be probably lower than his. Nope.
Like, well, I gave the last one a 5. This one is slightly better.
That's fair.
So yeah. So I just want you guys gave the last one 4s. So if you take that into consideration for the Clooney's this time around.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go 5, I think. Just because I am hopeful that it'll actually, by the end of that episode, I downgraded mine to a 3 because we kept talking. But I think I'm gonna go 5 on this one just because it's
one good script away from being a good show.
Yeah.
Which, like, that's not a small feat.
I think they need some actors too. Good script.
Good
Couple
script,
different
like
actors.
just some direction.
Maybe less lens flares.
I didn't notice as many in this episode. I will say that there
One
wasn't
is
an
too
entire
many.
scene of lens flares. At least
One is too many.
one is too many. The Abrams of ification of
It depends on the situation. Like,
Yeah.
on the bright, shiny, like, Enterprise bridge to, like, dazzle you, it makes sense. Or if there's, like, if they're, like, on a bright sun planet, it makes sense. But, like, in a boring office with boring dialogue, it's like, I don't need that shit
I
here.
don't need that. Yeah, I don't know. I am getting less and less hopeful about this show.
And the previews leave everything to the imagination, so we'll talk about that when we get to our spoiler section for those of you that don't want to be spoiled at all.
Yeah. I don't even know anymore. I don't even know anymore. It's a 5, I guess, just because I think the show might start to go somewhere from here on out, but I don't necessarily think I should reward this episode for what other episodes might do in the future. So I'm just gonna 5 and I'm walking away.
4.
Yeah. Checks out.
Get Raffi off my fucking screen. And I figured it out. I know who this show is. It's the Destroyer.
The Destroyer!
Peace out.
I guess we didn't really talk about that.
We don't need to. We're
it
done
wasn't
with
really
that.
it wasn't really a thing.
Fuck the prophecy shit right now. If it continues on, we'll look into it. But for now, no.
Nope. It's a big old nope from me.
Just gonna put that back over in the corner with Crazy Lady, and we're done.
In her back door.
Shove that prophecy up your back door, bitch. Thank you, everybody that doesn't want any spoilers for the upcoming season. I think I'm gonna drop some spoilers for what I'm guessing are going to be like the last couple episodes because we've seen clips in trailers. But if you haven't seen any trailers and you don't want to be spoiled,
We'll see you next week.
we'll see you next week. Hopefully
Maybe.
things keep improving. Hopefully things, or
Please
if you're
don't
Heather,
let us be the
things
only
improve.
ones. Please don't make us be the only ones watching this fucking show.
Judging by the numbers that this series is getting, I think it's pretty. We don't have a big viewership on this series, so I don't know. But if you are watching Picard and you are listening to us, tell your Picard watching friends,
Or tell your friends who just want to hear people bitch about something.
yeah.
Get them hate clicks, baby.
But yeah, thank you for listening. Head on over to the Moist Boys podcast. We've got what's that show called?
Carol and Tuesday.
We got Carol and Tuesday up right now. Next weekend is the most romantic weekend of the year. The weekend when Sonic the Hedgehog comes out.
Yes.
So get that hedgehog content over at the Moist Boys Reviews. I just put up the Birds of Prey review.
Birds of Trailer.
Birds of
Trailer.
Trey.
I got confused for a moment because the trailer.
Tears of trails and trails of birds.
Oh no! This is going south real fast.
Brief
That
another
is
brief
actually
tangent.
Where that is.
It is, yeah.
Southeast.
Brief tangent. Birds of Prey is the first trailer I've ever seen where all the clips are in the second half of the movie.
Oof.
So
Interesting.
Yeah, for good reason too, because
Oof.
So I don't want to spoil the movie, but there's a reason why they do that. But yeah, we got Carol and Tuesday parts 1 and 2. We've got a special Love is in the Air episode for Valentine's Day. We've got a bunch of exciting new stuff coming up because the times they are changing.
Yeah.
Even more so, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. So keep a lookout for that. Once that happens, I think I'm going to have more opportunity to plug our Patreon. But if you are interested in going over to our Patreon, head on over there, support us so we can make improvements. There's improvements we want to make to our show. We want to expand things, maybe do some cool stuff, even more so than we are doing now.
Like hang gliding.
Yeah.
No. But I'll send you pictures of my feet if you pay us for Sorry, I had to be Harley for a second.
Oh my god.
I have a nice foot tattoo, just so wrong.
But if you go onto our patreon.com/moistboyspodcast, maybe we'll put out some more Action Boys content because that's
We're
something.
gonna get that Harley on the gram.
Yeah. Because I want to do more Action Boys because it's fun to do, and we get some good listens off of that, and hopefully you like that. And
As much as we do.
yeah. So yeah, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week, and now we're going into spoiler talk. So the trailer for next week's episode is completely unintelligible. I have no idea what's going on. There's just characters.
There's gonna be lens flares.
There's lens flares, either Vulcans and or Romulans, and Captain Rio saying, "Where did that come from?" Which we don't know what he's talking about.
Nope.
So,
you know what I noticed a severe lack of in this next week's preview is still a lack of 7 of fucking 9.
I think this show is going to pick up once we start getting those older characters back in.
Like,
because those are good
Riker?
characters.
Yeah, where's Riker? Where's 7 of 9? Like, I think next week's episode, even though we got nothing from the preview, is gonna just be them on the ship flying to Casino Island.
Well, I feel like
And that's it.
there's so many. Again, forgive me if I do not know my Romulan ? History, but like wherever it is that they're going to, it seems like they are trying to make it both the Wild West, feudal era Japan, and some third thing that I just don't fucking know.
It's Casino Island.
Casinos then would be the third thing, I guess. And I don't.
Well, also, it's called Free Cloud, right?
Yeah.
Free Cloud /
Free Cloud
here's some
is
dice
the
rolling at you.
streaming
Yeah.
service you use when you're trying to steal MP3s in
Free
the
Cloud.
early 2000s.
Free Cloud is where we should be watching Picard instead of paying for CBS All Access.
Free Cloud
Parody,
is where you,
we're paying for it.
You hide all the like weird porn you don't want your family to find when you die.
The hentai shit. The hentai shit. Whoop. Tentacles.
A little bit of
There's some tentacles.
little bit of a funny thing is happening over on our Instagram, which you can find us instagram.com/moistboyspodcast. But every week I put up the link for Picard and a little post for it, and every week a verified account called CBS Interactive likes the post, and I feel bad because I know that they aren't listening to the episodes because I feel like if they, which I'm glad that they did not take my offer for doing branded content because I don't think they would like.
Sponsored by CBS.
This episode's sponsored by CBS Interactive. Fuck this show.
Honestly, if we can get a company to let us do shit like that, I'm on board. Because if somebody is like, hey, here's a product, we'll pay for like extra distribution or whatever like that. If the product still sucks, I'm gonna say so. Like,
yeah,
sorry,
I don't think
bros.
I don't think we're savvy enough to lie about the things we're talking about.
Nope.
No,
Like, especially not at 11 o'clock.
I'm gonna. Yeah. I will shoot my foot before I will.
I'll take a picture of it first, though.
Yeah, the before and after for the Gorehounds. But if we ever, folks, if you ever, it's gonna be real obvious if we start doing really bad branded content, because that is not us. So yeah, like it's gonna be, I'm gonna soji my way through any kind of like, and not just like a paid advertisement, but if someone's like, hey, start a podcast for us to do this thing that you don't believe in, like, you'll be able to tell.
You will know.
So yeah, I think at this point it's just wait for 7 of 9 to show up, which I think it says she's in 7. I thought it said she's in 7 episodes, but it might be 5 or 6.
Of 9. No, damn it, there's 10 episodes. Son of a bitch. You maniacs.
I know that Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis are only in 1 episode.
Yeah.
So that's going to be that. But I think she's going to be like at least a kind of series regular.
I think she's in 5. I thought it was 5 when I looked it up.
Which if it's the last 5, at least it'll end strong.
Hopefully.
But that still means you've got 2 more episodes before she shows up. Which I don't think, like, if anyone's going to be in this next episode, they would have shown it. So I know we're not getting anybody in this next one.
Yeah.
So I doubt the next one after that we will. But after that, I think this series
so we have
has
nothing to look forward to next week or the week after that. But after that, we could get Riker and Troy in episode 5. This is true. So
that if they spread it out, and we could get 6 good episodes to end the series, which I think could save my opinion of it. If this does a reverse Mandalorian where it finishes strong, then I think it could go well.
Never mind. Reverse Mandalorian is what you keep under free cloud.
That's where you never put a helmet on your guy.
Yes. Okay. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
Jonathan's done for the night. He hit it.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to I almost called it the wrong name, to the After Show podcast. Once again, after this show ends in 7 weeks, so that'll put us right at the end of April, I want to say. So if there are any shows starting in like end of May or June, shoot us a message over at moistboyspodcast@gmail.com.
Something you're going to be watching, you want us to watch with you.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple somethings.
I think we've got our end of the year locked up pretty well. Thank
you, Disney.
Yeah. There's two Disney shows ending the year.
There's like 3, isn't there?
Well, one is in August.
Oh, wait. No, there's 2 Disneys and an HBO, right?
They haven't released for those of you that listen to our Mandalorian breakdowns.
Oh, that's right.
Mandalorian season 2 comes in end of October. I'm just going to say that we're going to do WandaVision because we have Disney Plus.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, we are.
And I'm pretty sure that's supposed to drop in August.
Yeah, they said August sometime.
Yeah.
And we got...
Which means it'll drop in September.
What's their butts and what's their butts? Bucky and Sam?
That's 2021.
That's next year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
God, just give me that shit already.
Right.
That's what I want. I just want that as a movie.
Yeah. And then they haven't released a date for His Dark Material season 2. I looked it up online and I saw a scary dearth of information about season 2.
Oh no.
I thought I read that they were in production, so I hope that's true.
Jeez.
Oh no.
So, the last thing I read was that HBO was hoping that it could be a series going forward, but I'm like, but I thought you already picked it up. So yeah, we've got those 2 shows lined up. But if there are any other series that aren't called, never mind, I don't want to call it. Oh, fuck it. We badmouth every other show. If there's any shows that aren't called Avenue 5 that you want us to review on here.
God damn.
Because spoilers, that was the other show we were talking about maybe doing. It did not work out.
Did not work out because that was a solid 30 minutes of joyless bullshit that I do not need to put in my life every day.
Yeah. So we're not going to do that. But if you have any other shows, if there are any shows on Netflix that we might do week to week, even maybe suggest that as well. Those are a little bit harder to get into the zeitgeist around, but apparently so is Picard. So fuck it. I don't know.
Everything we're just
anymore?
screaming into the void. Just come scream with us.
I know that
it feels better. It feels good.
I know that Lock and Key is out there. Give us a 5-star review if you want us to do Lock and Key on episodes. But yeah, thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. We love you. If you listen to the Moist Boys podcast, you know what our name for you is. If you don't, please listen and you'll find out.
Christ.
Ooh, particularly if you listen to our Carolyn Tuesday Part 1 episode. Also, if you understand, message us or tweet at us at Moist Boys Pod what you think the title of the episode means, and maybe you'll win a sweet prize. But most importantly, please tell your friends, family, enemies if you want to hurt them by making them listen to us. Spread the word because we
Love you.
We love you, and we're also greedy shits. So, yeah. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week.